You ready to get started?
I'm ready. I've got my shirt right here as well.
Yes, yes. I was wondering, I was like, where's the shirt? I was like, why isn't he wearing the shirt?
You know what? I took them out of the frames during this
Did
lockdown
you?
because people was always requesting like little messages via whatever and stuff in it. So I took all my
Yeah.
shirts out. So when it's like birthdays and things like that, I just put on a shirt and do a video in it.
How
And then
often do you wear it?
it, it still fits. It's still baggy. That's the good thing. It fit good.
How did your call up come about?
My international call up came about in 1997. There was interest with the JFF in regards to myself and Robbie, my teammate at Wimbledon. I think it was a QPR game. Played him in the cup. I scored. I think Robbie scored as well. So there was a bit of a talking after about would we be interested. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to sit down and talk about it for sure. Paulie, Dion, Fitzroy, and a few others. They was out on like a trial, which I was a bit amazed about. Like, why these guys on trial? They're good players, man. But they flew me out and they just, what do you think? I said, I want this. Never had that sort of feeling like that around football and a sort of calling for the cause as well. So I was more than happy to do that. But the problem I had was in my contract at Wimbledon, they only wanted me to play for England, which was a tall asking. I think Glenn Hodder was the manager around that time, and his scouts was always coming to our Wimbledon matches as well. Ted Buxton, but I just thought, you know what, what's the chances of me getting in that England squad just for the sake of it's England, and that'll be it. Just get named in it maybe if I'm lucky. But once Jamaica came knocking, it was like, yeah, let's do it. But I had to wait until February the 3rd, 1998 to make my debut against Brazil. So I was so super pleased to get that call up.
Whose idea was it to put that clause in your contract? Because that delayed everything. I think we were in like a 7-month delay until your debut.
Yeah, it did. It caused a bit of anguish as well because I was just looking on it. The club's kind of faced in that regard is that they're trying to deny that I've got Jamaican dad and a mum from Barbados. Those were my options. So I was like, no, I'm not having that. But I think what really cheesed them off is that I just went and got myself a Jamaican passport.
You didn't tell them?
What we're telling them for? My life. It's my life. What, they're going to tell me when to go toilet next? You know, once I got my passport, the federation knew that, obviously, and then it was just a slow process. They had to go to FIFA to deem me eligible, and that took a few months until I think January or something like that, and then I was free to join up with the squad in February for the Gold Cup of '98.
It's really strange because when you look at that squad that England took to the World Cup, it's not as if they're short of talent. So why were they trying to block your, opportunity to play at international level?
Maybe they saw the progress with myself, but that was a load of rubbish because they didn't reflect that sort of projection with me with my wages at the time. So the two didn't match up. So I was like, you know what? Right? There's not many opportunities you can play international football, senior football. So that's what I took on. And that filled me with great pride as well. It was such a special feeling hearing the national anthem for the very first time. It gave me goosebumps because the whole crowd played this. The first game was in Miami against Brazil. And
Gold
it was just
Cup.
Yeah, so the whole fans were involved with the anthem, and it just sent a shiver down my back. I was like, whoa, this game is mad. So yeah, it was pleasing. Very pleasing.
How proud was your dad? Because he must have been jumping for joy to think that his son is now representing his country or both of your countries.
Yeah, he was very pleased at that as well. I'm very proud. He's probably still talking about it till this day. We have a frosty relationship anyway due to football. I don't want to read too tough into that, but yeah, he felt immense pride. He came to a warm-up game up at West Bromwich Albion when we played them, and I ended up scoring in that game, and he was in the crowd as well. I didn't know he was going to be in the crowd, but he was at the game in the crowd, and I scored and I run off into his direction. So yeah, that was crazy to see him afterwards, 'cause he didn't say he was going up there.
Jamaican British-born players placed on trial. Why was that?
I don't know. I just found it a bit weird because I knew how good the players were anyway.
Mm,
Um, but maybe they had to just prove themselves. I'm not sure. Well, they weren't. I don't think they was playing Premier League at the time. I think probably Championship. But even when
yeah.
you look at Championship level, it's still a high class level. So I was just a bit surprised that they went for a trial. I think they, to be fair, the boys paid for their own flights to get out there. That was the heart and spirit of those boys. They paid, so they put their hand in their own pocket and pay for their own flights and stuff to go on trial to showcase what they've got, and what a decision that was.
Do you think it was like JFF's way of saying, let's test if these boys really want to play for Jamaica, or are they just looking at it as a opportunity to feature a World Cup?
I think it's a bit of both. I don't think myself or Robbie Earl had to have trials,
Mm,
whether that's down to the status we was playing at Premier League, and I think that's probably looked unfair as well. If you're looking at Premier League, surely you can look at Championship and put the two together and say, you know what, these are playing in the top two tiers of the English leagues. That must carry some weight in strength as well. Um, I didn't feel awkward about it. I just thought, you know what, they've decided to fly me out there to come and show me around the place, and I just loved it.
so how was your welcome when you finally were released and you were eligible to go and play for Jamaica? What was the welcome like, particularly amongst the Jamaican-born players?
I think the players were, they was curious for sure. There wasn't no frostiness or anything like that. I remember 𝗘𝗫𝗓𝗩𝗘, he was my roomie. He just, one of the first things he said, you know, the people back home vex with you now. I was like, what do you mean vex? I said, certain things were out of my control. But that was the impression. And that was
Mm,
based on obviously what's gone on through the media. And it looked like I was just waiting and all that. I didn't get no backup from the federation at all with this. I was just left hang out to dry to deal with this on my own. So whether that had an impact on my sort of integration with the squad, I didn't feel anything with the players or anything. In my first training session, I thought there was going to be fights because of the language that was used, certain phrases that we can't repeat on here. But for me, it was just show them how good I am technically and show them that I'm up for this. So that's what I went and done in the first training session, is to let them know, yes, I'm here. This is what I'm about, and gain respect like that.
why did it take so long for JFF to approach you in the first place? Because it seems to me that obviously that happened almost 3 decades ago, and we're still,
Mm.
continuing that same process where we're waiting like forever to approach a player that does have, great qualities. Why does that happen?
Not sure. It's a bit disappointing because there's so much talent and a big pool of players that can represent the nation. It's like we failed to sort of really capitalize on making it an open process for players to come and represent the nation. There's good players in it now, don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
but we've missed out on quite a few good players that um, could have represented the country. So what needs to happen is, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I think a lot of players are sort of hesitant with the setup. I'm not sure why there's a hesitancy in not bringing or inquiring about the English-based Jamaicans that are here. Not too sure why. Whether it's I don't know. It could be political for all I know, but missing out big time because there's players here or coaches here that can definitely help improve the general game of Jamaica out there. We're seeing little coaches out in in Jamaica now, white coaches like Wally Downs getting a
Mhm.
academy. I'm like, come on. Otherwise, we've
Yep.
got better people capable of doing greater things than that. Instead of what we're seeing is like people that's got money can come in, do what they want. But is that the right thing for the nation? I don't think so. But there's hungry people there. There's good coaches that could go over there and can represent the nation in that regard, and bring forth with them all their sort of talents, their connections, encourage more players to go for it, because that was one of my remits when I had that interaction with Jamaica. I was telling players back at Wimbledon, player called 𝗘𝗫𝗖𝗟𝗨𝗦𝗜𝗩, and I was telling him, I said, you play for under 20, England under 21s, that could be just it, under 21s and no further. But it goes, you play for your home nation, your family's nation. I said, you'll be a king forever. I said, they will lift you up on high. Because I felt that with my personal experience, is that once you play for your home nation, you can't beat that. When you hear the national anthem, when you're thinking of your family and your friends and all that, it connects you to a point of you can't stop this. So players need to be encouraged to represent their home nation or their parental nation as much as possible, because I think that's, especially in this day and age, we see how the world is operating. There's a lack of sort of respect for black players out there in terms of what they achieve compared to the white counterparts. There's no sort of level playing field as such. So, you know what, live a life according to your own will, but fulfill it. Look, where can you fulfill it? You know, I was blessed to have the 2 years with the Reggae Boyz, and that will always live with me. Those experiences, the memories, the friendships, the laughter, the jokes, the food, everything that could never go. And if the federation needed help trying to find out over here who can qualify for the national side, I would love to help and keep my ears and eyes about, so I can help the country again. So, because the talent is there, no doubt. Everyone goes to Jamaica for certain things. There's so much potency out there. You can't deny it. But I just think it's, you know, the hierarchy that's here in this country. You're probably under more pressure with your clubs if you do go. I remember after my debut with Jamaica, got back to Wimbledon and they all thought, oh, how was your holiday? Because they just associate Jamaica with holiday, innit?
Sun, beach.
So I said, yeah. Yeah. So they like, I was like, yeah, the holiday was all right. You know, debut against Romario and Edmundo and then Nielsen on the left wing doing all this step over. Yeah. I said, yeah. I didn't hear anything after that. Not one word after that. But it's breaking down those barriers still. And we can do that, no problem. But we've got to grow what's within, expand what's within. You know, there's other coaches out there as well. There's people that can come in and help, no doubt. So, and that's no slant on Theodore Whitmore anyway. That's, you know, there's people out there that can help his cause, the nation's cause, because this is bigger than any one person.
No, I think you're absolutely right about that. I think someone like Paul Hall will be an excellent addition to the coaching setup with the Reggae Boyz. I'm actually quite surprised that they haven't approached him yet. I don't know the reason for that. So like, maybe you could shed some light on that for me.
I don't know why they haven't. I don't think there's any sort of hesitancy from Hawley to do that, but it's all in timing, isn't it? Timing might be right for Paul, maybe not time for the JFF. But again, you've got Bibby Gardner, he's taken badges. He's a good asset as well. He's got so much knowledge from when he came to England to play his trade after a brilliant World Cup at 19 years old. So he would have taken back a lot of knowledge, a lot of professionalism. And that was always labelled at the federation, even when I was playing, about the lack of professionalism around the place. And I could see that from way back as well. You know, we do things in our own style, which is totally fine. But there's some certain things that would need to tinker with. For instance, the leagues, to get that right up to standards. You know what I mean? The surfaces and everything, standards of coaches. But all of this, everyone knows what needs to happen. It's just pushing the button to do it.
Now, what were some of the things that, you know, completely blew you away in terms of lacking in professionalism when you linked up with the boys?
Nothing really blew you away. It's just little things. I remember the night before the first game against Croatia in the World Cup, we still didn't even know what we was getting paid. Nothing like that. We were still in discussions the night before. And in my head, I'm like, this should have been settled long ago. The night before the game, you're supposed to be just relaxing. focusing on your involvement in the team, the squad, and just channeling all your energy into that instead of sitting around the table discussing money and all this rubbish. Money, in the end of the day, was irrelevant. So for me, it was just like, no one can take away your World Cup appearances. I know I only had one, but I can live off that one. You know what I mean? It was a winning game as well. But, you know, we shouldn't be discussing things like that the
No,
night
because
before the
that
game.
then has an effect on you when you go into the game, doesn't it?
Yeah, everyone wants to do well. Everyone wants to do well. Um, the shape changed as well as we got out there. As you know, traditionally 3-5-2. We get there, it's 4-4-2. I got my hunches why it changed and who instigated all of that to a point. But we got where we wanted to get to in that last game, because I think by then the embarrassment had set in deep, and we just said, look, we don't want to come here to be embarrassed fully. And if we are going to lose, we're going to lose on our own strength. We need our own shape back, 3-5-2, and that's what we did, and we achieved that win against Japan. But these are the things that needs tightening up. I'm sure it's a lot better now, but these were some of the problems we had back in the '98 World Cup squad.
I think these problems still exist till this day. I know most certainly does exist amongst the reggae girls, because the issues that you're speaking of, these are the issues that the girls unfortunately went through whilst they were coincidentally at their World Cup appearance as well. Do the JFF have anyone that holds them accountable for their lack of action?
I don't know, but everything starts from the head. A fish rots from the head, yeah? And that's where all the problems will lie. The head is not fully transparent and open with what it's doing. You're going to see the cracks of it further down the chain of things. So, as I say, it's not a criticism on the federation, but it's a highlighting. Look, if we got the nation's heart's interest at the forefront of our minds, we will do what we need to do to get the best achieved results. I saw that World Cup. I was pretty quiet back then. I just want to be in this World Cup. I was desperate to play, desperate to be part of all of this. But you can see there's one or two individuals around that use the fame of the Reggae Boyz for their own personal gain.
I think I know who you're talking about.
I ain't calling no names. I'll call out the names when I'm ready.
I think I know who you're talking about, because
there's a couple in there that bounced on that team.
Because I look through that list and I can see that the English-born players, certain players showed up to represent Jamaica after the World Cup, and I can only notice one player who didn't show up.
Why? Who's that then? Why?
I mean, if you're not going to name no name, I'm not going to name no name neither, because I could be wrong.
I ain't saying nothing.
But I think this individual might be in the States. I could be wrong.
Put it this way, they're on the planet. They're on the planet. I knew from early.
Do you think, did that create any friction within the squad? Like, honestly speaking, because like you said, you know, that player was posted almost like the important player, like, you know, we need him. If we want to do well, we need to have him in the squad. So like, did that pose any sort of friction in the team?
No, because when it came down to keeping up that ball and doing what you can do with the ball, we knew that that person was nowhere near the most technically gifted on the ball. When the ball's bouncing, we know who you can rely on. You can't fool everybody. The media, you guys got fooled. All the press, the lot, you all got fooled. Because after that tournament, when it all came out, we could see as clear as day what's going on and who was profiting and who was doing. Nah, that's not right. That ain't right.
So I take it you guys didn't get any money from that book that came out then, did you?
Listen, I don't know money from no book. I don't know money from no book. Keep your
did,
book.
did you guys
Learn your
know
book.
about the book? Did you know that the book was, in process of being written, or did you just see it when it was
Yeah, we saw
published?
it. We saw that every day in camp.
So the book was being written in camp.
Hmm.
How did you guys feel about that? Because that sounds a bit like, unusual to me. I don't know of any player who has gone to a World Cup, their first World Cup at that, and within such a iconic moment, you're busy writing a book. Like that to me just seems like you're here to
All I'm gonna
capitalize.
say, when that first goal went in, I had a bittersweet moment, all in the same moment. It's mad, isn't it?
Yes.
It was a bittersweet because all I know was that week leading up to that game, I was in the team. And then all of a sudden it just changed, like the last day or so. I was like, I'm not one to go and question the manager. I'm one of them who like to keep myself quiet, humble, work hard, get to where I need to get to. Played 700 matches like that. Didn't have to beg no manager or coach to put me in no team. Didn't have to be his friend. Didn't have to sit on his table. Didn't have to go and get him an apple or a paper to get in the team.
Let the football do the talking.
I didn't have to be no friend of no coach. But I somehow played 700 matches. Why? Because I applied myself properly. It's up to the manager to make that right. That's his job. My job is to put in his mind, I'm the one for that spot. But unfortunately, I was just so sort of, I felt let down. I knew something was going on, but it's just hard to prove. Um, I was disappointed with not being in the starting lineup.
Why do you think you weren't in that lineup?
I just think someone with another teammate was in the manager's ear. And the way we went to that shape of 4-4-2 would only really benefit one person from that position. It didn't benefit the 10 other players out there because they was all in different areas of the pitch without the right support around them. So when you got Pepe Goodison, left side centre back, he's got Vivi Gardner left back in this game, he's got one other defender next to him. They play as a three. They play as a three. We normally have the man advantage in midfield. We didn't have it that day. And that's what disrupted it. It was, to me, it was selfish, and the coach got hoodwinked into that. Because I remember the first meetup after that World Cup, he went ballistic. He was fuming, the coach, because he knew he got hoodwinked on the pitch and off the pitch and in the media because he bigged up this player as if it was his most important. And I was like, wow, it's like you bigged up the Trojan horse, coming and mash up things. But the years have gone by, I still can't get over that. I'm just like, not just me personally, but the effect that squad had. As I said, the strong feeling was after we lost 5-0 to Argentina, I was ready to pack my bag and go. And my bag was packed. I was going home. I just didn't have my passport on me. I was like, I didn't come all the way. I know it's only down the road in France. But I was ready to go home. Everyone else partied that night. I was vexed. I stayed in the hotel. There's only a couple of us that stayed back. I was vexed. I wanted to go home. Then I sat there with a couple of them, just had a little reasoning and all that, a deep conversation, you know what I mean? We had a good reasoning talk with a few of the boys. And then we had a meeting about the last game. And we all said, look, we're playing 3-5-2. Let's get back to that. And that's what we did.
That's quite interesting because listening to you talk about that moment, stuff that happened behind your back, stuff that happened with the team overall, it seems to me as that moment, deciding to make that player as almost in some sense the poster boy for the Reggae Boyz, that could be the reason why a lot of people are like, have some resentment when you look to bring English born players into the team, because they're probably going to think, is the same thing going to happen again?
Yeah, that could be the thought process as well. It would be a shame if it lasted so long, because time should have changed that as well. Action should have changed that as well. But all it takes is one time for it to happen, and it can set people back decades. But other than that, the whole experience was a brilliant one. I'm sure every player in the squad and around it would have said the same thing. Just to be around it and experience what we did, it was beautiful. Love to do it again. I would love to step back in time and do it all again,
What
every
would you
single
do
day.
differently?
What would I do differently? Good question, you know. I was a quiet cat anyway. I was just,
Mm.
I expressed myself with my body. I'm more talky now, but back then I was just like, you know what, play. Would I want to be more vocal? Yeah. Would I like to get out my shell a bit more? Yeah. I'm a sensitive old soul. That's me, and I care about myself. I care about what people think. You know what I mean? Um, would I, if I was more ruthless in a few things that I was doing, you know what I mean? In my personality, just be more ruthless. But again, that's not me.
Mm-hmm.
That's not in my
Mm-hmm.
spirit. At the time, if I need to be ruthless, I'm ruthless. But if I don't need to be, I can't put myself into that position of I got to annihilate for the sake of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like a lion. A lion don't go roaring around the jungle all day long, badding up himself. I'm a lion. Everyone's just a lion. You mess with that at the wrong time, you finish. That's how I like
Yeah.
to approach myself. I don't want to go around barking. I was at a club like that. We had players like that, characters like that, you know, screaming what they're going to do next. And I'm like, not me. If it happened, it happened. Just make sure you know it was me that make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
But no, there's not much I would change in it. Not much at all. I'll keep it more or less the same. Maybe challenge the coach, but again, that's not me. That's not me. I respected the coach on his on all his decisions, and I felt he respected me as well because after that, I think it was in '99, he made me the captain because he could see my sort of calming effect, my sort of quiet effect on the players. You know, he saw that I was a spiritual person at that time as well. I was going to church at that time, and then he would ask me to say you know, Psalm 23, Lord is my shepherd. So that was down to me reciting that, giving us some good wishes before we stepped out onto the pitch. I was very proud that he saw there was some leadership qualities within me to name me captain for the year. And that was a big sort of boost for my sort of confidence with him because of that.
Do you think that you ever would have worn that captain's armband had you been capped by England?
No chance. You're not going to get capped by England and wear the armbands. Nah. But Jamaica missed out on good players. One, for
Mm-hmm.
example, Andrew Impey.
Mm-hmm.
Now he played, I think, 45 minutes for England under 21, and that made him ineligible to represent Jamaica.
Was that in a competitive match?
Yeah, just 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Because once he knew I was playing, he's like, Gayle, have a word with them. I said, I'm going to talk to them. Oh, and I did. The next meet up,
Yeah.
I said, look, Imps, he's desperate to play. And then they came back to me with the feedback. He's played 45 minutes for the 21s of England. So that ruled him out. He would have been perfect in that squad. The one regret I do, not, it's out of my control anyway, and out of everyone's control, was that I wish that squad had played England at the time.
Yeah.
I wish that could have happened back in that year, 1998, or around it. I would have loved to have faced England with our group of players against their group of players, just to look on their face. I would have been looking down the line when the Jamaican national anthem was playing. I want to have a look at Sol Campbell's like, hearing this song.
Sterling Jamaican born players opting to play for England. So, why does that happen?
I think it's economics. I
Mm-hmm.
honestly do. Can you imagine an English football club paying Raheem an obscene amount of money like he's getting today, and he's Jamaican? Hell no. It's not in their best interest to enrich us
Yeah.
economically or within our stature.
Yeah.
So that's what I think it's down to. It's definitely economics. If you want the big dough, this is what you got to do. And I'm not saying they're towing line, but in a way they are economically, because as I said, Jamaica's got a hell of a lot of talent. It always will have. And it's a shame that the players feel obligated to the paymasters to, like, you know, do their bidding for them. At the same time, it's the demise of your home nation. Imagine Raheem playing for Jamaica right now. Where would Jamaica be with just Raheem in the squad?
Incredible.
Because you're not going to just have him. He's going to be pulling some backup as well. He's going to be pulling boys. He knows here. It's like, listen, come. And he will still get his pay that he's getting currently.
Yeah, because his football's doing the talking for him, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's just like, you just have to pay him. Otherwise, he's not going to play in your league.
But you see other nations with international players that play here. They're a small nation, but they will still pay those boys the top dollars.
You've got someone like Wilfred Zaha, born in Ivory Coast, and he opts to play for Ivory Coast. And I see all these young African players, and I'm really proud of them. But in a way, I'm just like, oh man, I wish our players could do that, like with no hesitation, just like play for your country. Because when it goes wrong, when it goes south, we're gonna back you. We're always gonna give you that sense of belonging, you know. And then when you play, when you go the other direction, and something happens to you in the league, and then the media comes at you, then where do you go from there?
It's a hard place to come back from, especially with this media. You're demonized from before you can get out your nappy. You know what I mean? It's unfair. It's uncalled for. I understand the system that we live in, and these are just the symptoms of the system that is oppressing people psychologically, physically, mentally, everything, and even within the game. So that's what I do in my own spare time, understand the system that we currently operate in. It weren't built for us. It definitely weren't built to serve us anyway. And I just think players in particular, they just want to play football. We're seeing great steps. You look at Raheem and Marcus Rashford in the media here now, they're pulling up trees. They're challenging authorities. They're challenging the government. While they're still playing and doing very well, still playing. You can't tell them, oh, just shut up and get on with your football. Well, they're doing that. They're still scoring goals and they're doing great works off the pitch as well. You would like to think they've got that influence within the game with the younger players to lead them in a different direction. But I can understand the pull of the stature of England, the economics that it wields, like at what price? You know what I mean? Like, this shirt is gold, man. Literally. Look, that can't leave me ever. That can't leave. I got an England youth cap. That's somewhere in storage. That's in storage. That ain't far from me when I sleep. That ain't far. You know what I mean? And you can't buy that. You cannot buy that.
Jamaica obviously gave you a sense of belonging then, didn't it?
Yeah, it's weird because, as I said, my experience was I felt a bit like hung out to dry by the media, not by the media, but through the federation. They didn't really defend me with my sort of inclusion in the squad, with all the stories he just waited and all this, and he didn't want to come. No one asked me that. No one put that towards me. That was just other people talking. But we got there in the end. I wish that was different. But you know, time's gone on now. What more can you say about it? All I take away is a lot of positives from that squad. Beautiful time, beautiful people, so much jokes. When I talk to Hawley on a weekly basis, we're laughing at our times back then more than we've played here. You know what I mean? That's how strong it is because it meant so much to us. And you know, I wish we could all get together as a squad and just gather up.
Who you inviting?
We need to do it. Everybody.
You
Absolutely
sure about
everybody
that,
around. Yeah, even him. Even him. Tell him about himself. He couldn't fool. He knew he couldn't fool me, and he couldn't fool the players because the players put him through a couple of little things, and they sussed him out with one of them. So that was it. That was it. His goose was cooked.
You think he would show up if you gave him an invite?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
Wow. Okay then. What was your highlight of your international career?
Debut. Can't go much further than debut. The first goal was against El Salvador in Los Angeles. Playing in the World Cup with the squad, even though I was a bit topsy-turvy, like I wanted to go on, but I played the game. I'm very proud of that, proud of the team's performance and everybody involved. Just hearing the national anthem at the national stadium, I think that's the one, leading the team out in the national stadium, hearing that anthem, man. And the music in the background as well. I tell people that now and they're like, what? You guys had music? Yeah, we had music in the background. That was setting the tempo. So that just gave it atmosphere and all that. And it empowered us as well. So like just keeping your rhythm, keeping into your flow and perform.
Which moment have you savored most in your career? Scoring that goal against Manchester United to knock them out of the FA Cup when they were the then cup holders, or captaining Jamaica?
Favorite goal, I would say, when I scored against Chelsea.
Yeah.
Beat them 4-2. That one sticks with me because one, I was allowed to drive to Stamford Bridge, which you wouldn't get players doing now. So I parked up around the corner. We was already wound up with the newspaper articles by Frank Leboeuf, who was running up his mouth about our team and all this and all that. So that's why he got damaged in that game as he did. His ego got bruised, and I say, good. His team lost 4-2, and I say, good. And then walking towards my car after the game, I was bricking it because I saw a mob of Chelsea fans coming towards me, and I was like, uh-oh. That bittersweet moment, innit? Sweetness of scoring the goal, but the bitterness, I might get a beating here. And then this big guy in the group, like, wait, Gayle. I went, yeah. He went, good goal today, son. Good goal. Shame Vialli couldn't do me like that. I thought, what? Chest was up, man. Like, yeah, man. It's like, step to the car now. So I felt 10 feet tall after that. But yeah, playing and captaining Jamaica, coming out at the national stadium with the armband on. That was a special moment. Having that sense of responsibility that the head coach has given you.
Yeah.
That lives with me and stays high up in my sort of rankings of positive effects.